Joining me today is Dr. Deena Kara Shaffer. She is a learning strategist, a best-selling author, a keynote speaker, a founder of Awaken Learning, and the perfect person to talk to about doing our program because we don't mess around. We want people to lose their weight finally and forever. We want them to want this to be the last diet they ever do. And there's a lot to unlearn, there's a lot to relearn, and there's a lot to learn when it comes, I imagine, to achieving any goal in your life, let alone reaching your finally and forever weight loss goals. So I could not be more excited. Welcome. Hello. How are you? Hi.
Hi. I am so excited to be here. And hi, everybody. And ooh, it's going to be so good. Like what you've just signed up for or coming back for, it will change your life. So thank you.
Well,
Thank
not only are you a world-renowned learning strategist, but you are a Livy Loser yourself. You've done the program. So I think that's really important. So let's get right into it. On Monday, people are going to pop into the Facebook support group, review the information, or open up their app, or perhaps they got their hands on our book and they're like, what the? Look at all the information. Let's talk about the resources that we have. So we have the Facebook support group, we have the app, and we have the book. Having done the program, what are your suggestions for our new members who are just seeing all of this on their first day?
Oh, I love this question. So I don't know if this is a bit of a rebellious answer, but I want to say, don't try to do all of it or all of
Okay.
those things. So I
Okay.
can't help it. I've been a high school teacher, I'm a university lecturer, a business owner. About learning. My whole life is about learning. So I listen with the ears and the heart of a teacher. And when I listen to the feedback from your members about some of their struggles, what I so want to say to everybody is you are in the hands of actually a brilliant teacher, because Gina isn't putting out all of these resources to meet every single person to do all of it. Like, you're not meaning for every person to do the podcast and the Facebook and the lives and the questions and then pop back at the end of the day and the app. That's beautiful if someone wants to do that and if that works and fits. But with the ears of a teacher, you're trying to offer as many different access points so that every person has one or two things that feel doable and resonant and manageable. So it's the difference between all things for everybody or like all the things and a couple for each person. And you're going to experiment and play and try and feel it and be like, not right now, but this, yes, or this combination. And that's kind of the point. So for me, when I started, I absolutely like lived by the book. I needed something physical in my hands to make sense of. And then, because I've done it a couple times and I'm doing it again, then it was like book, plus I'm really going to dig into those science posts at the end. Like I have more capacity now that I know what the rhythm is. And I will be very honest, Gina and kind listeners, that this last, when I did it in the winter or in the spring, I did not a single Facebook post and I didn't do a single live because it didn't work for my life. Instead, I was commuting at 7:30 in the morning and I listened to your recordings of your lives, the podcasts, and they saved me. You were my morning commute. And that's how I did the program. I think that was probably my third or fourth time. And I got something new out of it. So each different modality, each different way that Gina's teaching it is going to give you everything you need. But please don't feel, from my perspective and my advice as a learning strategist and a human, you don't have to do all those things. They're just meant to create access.
So I want to talk about that because what I've done is created resources to help people who learn differently. Each individual person learns differently. So I love the Facebook support group, right? That's where we post all the information. That's where I check in each day. That's where I go live. That's where we have our amazing team of program specialists who are going to help answer any questions that anyone has. It's where our community support is. So there's a lot of benefits to joining the Facebook support group in itself, but not everybody wants to learn in that environment and wants to be on Facebook, which is also why we have the app, which is really cool. So the app will guide you day by day by day throughout the program. And so not only does it have all the information that you need, but it also has the ability to track your weight and your mood and your sleep and your movement, and, you know, basically keep you accountable as well. So that's an amazing resource. Now, you can open up the app and read the post within the app, but you can also, when you're done reading that post, link into the Facebook support group where you can ask a question or, you know, listen to the conversation. Or you, instead of watching the live that day from the app, you can listen to it as it links directly into the podcast as well. So every day I do a check-in. I highly suggest people, you know, pop into the group and create the routine of listening to the check-in. It's where I talk about the posts that we had that day, kind of what you need to know. But the Facebook Live, to your point, they're not mandatory. It's sort of the next level conversation. And, you know, listening to a podcast every day for a half hour might be too time consuming for people at the end of the day. So everything that you do need to know is in the Facebook support group, is in the app, and also in the book as well. The Facebook Lives, the guest conversations, you know, all the rest of it is really just how much you want to immerse yourself in the whole experience, really, at the end of the day. But let's break it down and simplify. So the first day, people, of course, want to know, well, I mean, they want to know now, what am I eating? What am I doing? You know, so the first day they're going to pop into the Facebook support group. They're going to open up their app. There's the food plan, and they're going to want to check out the food plan guide. And in the food plan guide, it's pretty extensive. It talks about breakfast and snack and lunch and your 2 afternoon snacks and your dinner. And it talks about your grocery list and the difference between proteins, carbs, and fats, and talks about how much water you need to drink. It can seem like a lot. So how do you suggest that someone, you know, prioritize that on their first day?
Oh, I love this. So, first, if we can use maybe the language of options instead of all the way to overwhelm. Gina's giving you options.
Okay.
So, it's really not about everything, it's about choice making. And that success, if we're talking about how do we set ourselves up for success, let's please remember that it's personal and it's about process. So personal meaning you might have been referred by a friend, as I was. That's how people find you. I lost 25 pounds. I lost 15 pounds. I lost 70 pounds. Like, we don't know anything about that human. We don't know the weight they're carrying, the trauma they have, their current context, how much time they have, their capacity. So it's deeply, deeply personal. So when we think about successes, we celebrate everybody's successes in the group, but it has to be meaningful and very, very tailored to you. So success to me is, can I have a touch point with Gina every day? Can I read a little bit of the book every day? Can I listen to the podcast every day? Can I drink a baseline of water that's a little bit up from what I used to be drinking? These can be very, very small. And that's the beauty of non-scale victories. It really takes it away from the like final outcome to what are the daily things, the daily wins. And then process is, to your point, how do we start well? So there's a beautiful phrase called little and often. You don't need to read the whole book in one day, and you don't need to go through every single post. Can you, like, little and often is such a beautiful mantra. And little and often might literally mean I'm going to do 15 minutes devoted to learning Gina. Like I'm going to learn what this means. Because it is kind of like going back to school. Like, this is a really perfect conversation right now. It's very back to schooly in the best life-changing kind of way. So little and often could be number of pages that we start reading every day. Little and often can be the number of minutes. Little and often can be a post or two. Little and often could be, I'm gonna pop in a comment or a question twice a week. And so it's not trying to contain it or keep it small. It's trying to actually prevent overwhelm. It's trying to practice. Many of us, for the first time in ages, prioritize ourselves, but ground that in action. So I am going to not just say on my to-do list, 15 minutes of Gina, 15 minutes of reading the book, 15 minutes of listening. I'm actually going to marry that with time, meaning
Mm.
I'm going to protect 15 minutes in the morning, and that's when I'm doing it. I don't have to like carry it around as a to-do, and I'm not sure when and if I fit it in. I'm going to book it in, and I'm going to protect that time.
Okay, so for example, they pop into the Facebook support group, 7 a.m. Monday morning. They're excited, open up their app, and they're like, whoa, this is a lot of information. And so, first of all, I do want to say to people, we give you the whole first week. It's called prep week to really review the information, ask all the questions that you need, run out and grab anything that you need. Some people will start day one. Some people will sort of see that progression throughout the week as they start to pull things all together. So say you have 15 minutes, 7 a.m., and you start reading and you still have, more information to go. So this is where, okay, you know what? I've read what I've read right now. I'm going to maybe come back, revisit it on my lunch hour, or maybe at the end of my day today. I'm going to pop in, review the rest of the information. And then do you suggest people make a plan? So should they write it out? Like, these are the steps. I'm going to read over the food plan. I'm going to make a list of my to-dos. I'm going to like,
Yes.
what's a sort of strategy there for that? So I've set aside the time and understand I may not get it all done in one day. What is there a strategy for organizing
I,
or approaching it?
I love this question. So I think to-do lists are great, but they're also flawed. To-do
Okay.
lists are the mental dump. Great. We get everything out of our brain.
Mm.
Perfect. Please don't stop there. Because then we have a list and we're like, okay, like let's secretly, we know what we do. I'm going to cross off the easiest things first because they're fast and they make me feel good because then I have all the check marks. But then you leave all the longer, harder things.
Yeah.
So I like instead an approach called task to time alignment. So I have my to-dos, and my to-dos are time bound or somehow that little and often idea. I'm not going to do Gina or read over the program. That's too big, too generic. It has no end. And we
Okay.
don't just want to end when we're tired. And we don't just want to end like when we feel like it. Actually want to kind of contain it. We want to draw a little bit of a boundary around it. So that might mean I'm going to read 2 pages, but I'm really, really going to read them. And if I have a question, I'm going to post it. And that's going to be really successful. And I'm also not just going to leave that as a to-do. I'm going to choose a time when I make space for it. Because we can't just live by, if we really, really want the transformation that you're offering, which is very real, like really in 91 days, you could have what you want. We have to actually make the time for it. I was thinking a lot and so looking forward to today. Nothing that's transformative happens all at once.
Yeah.
It's not possible. But it happens over like you're accumulating these small wins. You're accumulating that 1 pound down, half a liter extra water, and more to the point, I think from my experience of doing your program 4 or 5 times, is like the deep, deep peace that can come with the relearning a relationship with food that isn't about eating with it, like when you're exhausted, eating when you are overstressed, eating when you actually are full. That takes time. So we need to make time.
Yeah, I like what you just said there about kind of like the guidelines. So each week we're going to give you guidelines to follow. And so these are what you need to do, basically what you're eating and when, what you need to focus on. So that's the most important piece. Like, this book is full of all sorts of other, if you're a shift worker, how to manage the program, when you're sick, when you travel, talking about breads, talking about alcohol, talking about exercise. There's so many posts in here, but each week it's really the guidelines that you want to read over and read them over like 6 times and then make notes on the guidelines, right? That's what you really need to know. And then the extra is extra. Be solid on what you need to do each week, I think, is the most important piece. So rather than trying to read all of it, is really kind of tune in to that. Like, what is the focus this week? What are we doing this week? And then how do we pull that sort of together? The rest of the information, it's great, kind of need to know, but at the end of the day, what you need to know is the most basic things in terms of what you need to do each day. So when people pop into the Facebook support group on Monday or open up their app, the first thing they're going to want to do is review that food plan. Obviously it's going to be a lot different than anything they've probably ever done before. So how do you suggest they sort of, is there a way of learning and being more open to the information? Because a lot of people are coming in a little resistant. They're like, well, I don't know about this and I'm not sure about that. And so if you're questioning it, how are you also learning it at the same time?
Oh,
Does that make sense?
it hugely makes sense. And it
Mm.
puts in sort of front and center the role of mindset and outlook. I have so many things I want to say about these. So, first is a stance actually that's appreciative. So,
Mm.
life is very difficult in so many ways for just about every human. And also, if we're here, that likely means that this particular project of like relating to food and relating to body, that those have been hard. And I just really want to frame the bigness of the information you're giving and the bigness of the book, which is such a good book. You're offering it to us all at once for those of us who actually don't want it to be kept mysterious. Like,
Yes.
instead of going, I'm just going to give you this day at a time or this week at a time, that would actually make people very potentially anxious. Like, but then what's going to come? Like, and
I
then what
used
do
to
I do?
do that. I
Yeah.
used to do that,
Yeah.
thinking that was going to prevent people from
Prevent
feeling
overwhelm.
overwhelmed, wanting too much, and then they got stressed out because they're like, "Well, I need to know." So now I'm like giving it all to people and they're like, "It's too much."
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So if we can come at the stance that actually, Gina, and your team like really, really know what you're doing. You know what you're doing because this is your life, and you know what you're doing because you've done this so many times, which means, and I have to say, you folks are so open to feedback. You keep asking it. You want critical feedback, which means that you're here 20 groups later, having like iterated, shifted, tightened, refined. So the reason that all the information is laid bare is because people actually probably along the way were like, I can't cope with not knowing what comes next. But that doesn't mean for the folks who are having a tough time looking at, you're on page 1, you're like, there are hundreds of pages here. How do I
Mhm.
do this? You don't do them all.
Yeah.
And you allow yourself the first time to be messy. Ask any one of
Mm.
us who've been through the program at
It's a
least one.
process.
It's messy and it's nonlinear, and that's actually perfect. That's the way it's
Yeah.
designed to be, because we're trying to heal something that's been really fractured. I am the classic. If I just eat less and I work out, we might get into this in a future week, but like hours and hours a day. And it 100% didn't work, and it 100% backfired. So this program and process is a real healing one. So when you say first day is a couple pages. First
Yes.
day, get to know the very basics and then stop
Mhm.
before overwhelm sits in, right? And if I can just
Yeah.
add, try to make it right from the start a new habit. That,
Mhm.
and maybe we talk about that more, about what that looks like, but all you need to know is if you have a set pattern in the rhythm, and like in the rhythm of your morning or the rhythm of your evening, like I brush my teeth and then I dress my kids and then you fit Gina into that sequence. It's called habit stacking. And when we automate a process and we don't have to think about it or create more like, oh, when do I do it? Am I going to have time? Oh no, the day's running out. I haven't had a touch point with Gina yet. We don't have to carry that thinking load anymore. We just
Yes.
fit it in. It's time bound. Look at that. We did it. That's a non-scale victory because I did my Gina today.
Yeah.
We make it easier for ourselves.
Yeah.
You can make ease with this program instead of the like critical wrestling, frustration, overwhelming.
Well, I think that's what's different about that is what's different. Besides the fact we don't count, we don't weigh, we don't measure, we're not into starving, we're not into, depriving. Our focus is on maintenance. But more than that, it's a guided program and process. So unlike other diets, to your point, where people are just eating less and exercising more, you are guided on a daily basis. So we actually break down the program. You'll see once you get in there in the Facebook support group and in the app by days. So it starts on day 1. And so if you're using the app, which I highly suggest you do, you still want to track the water you drank and the foods that you ate, even if they're not perfectly aligned with the guidelines and what we're suggesting, because it's the first day and you're just finding out what you need to do. And you'll be able to see that progression. And each day you'll just get into the habit, like you said, of using the app and tracking. And it's not about being perfect. So each day, talk about not getting ahead in the book and in the program. If you just read the post posted on day 1, you just read the post posted on day 2, and and you really take a day by day approach, it's really the best way to, make your way through the program. You talked about it being a course. So I love this. So I think it's really important that people frame, sort of how they're approaching this and associate to how they learn. So some people might look at it like a course, right? Every day you're going to school, you are reading what you need to read, you're doing your homework, you're doing the things that you need to do. I also like the concept of a journey, right? It's maybe a journey in self-discovery. I'm showing up each day. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I'm here for it. I'm going to figure it out. Maybe it's an adventure and you're just like, let's see how this goes and who knows what's going to happen. Or maybe it's a project and you're the project and you like to organize and prioritize and sort of however you learn. I think that's the sort of a big takeaway from today is you really need to be aware of how you learn and what you need. Like the Facebook group is great. I ran 15 programs with just the Facebook group and people were hugely successful. The book came about because people were printing off the information. It was costing them a fortune. And I don't learn very well on a screen. I like to just I got my highlighters in like 50 different colors. I like to highlight. I like to make notes. And so we thought, let's put the book together so people can have a written information. Now, the really cool thing about the book is it has QR codes now in it. So you can actually scan the posts and it will take you right to the videos that you can now watch that go along with it. So that makes it so much easier. And then of course the app, if you want to be guided through day by day in a sort of, less community-based environment, you're just kind of good on your own, then the app is there for you. Not meant to overwhelm you. Keeping an idea on the time, since we are out of time. Let's talk about that feeling of overwhelmed, not just the first day, but also people who maybe, don't get into the program because they're starting a week late because they're traveling or still on vacay or whatever. Or, at some point, I know we're going to have you back and talk about this more, but if they miss a couple days, they feel like, oh my gosh, I've blown it. I might as well just start again, like next year. Like, what do you do with that feeling of feeling overwhelmed? I mean, I just dropped my kid off to school today and she's already feeling overwhelmed and it's day one. I'm like, you haven't even started. Why are you overwhelmed? So what can people do about that if they start to notice that they're feeling overwhelmed? It's a big feedback that we get in the first day.
It's so good. And I want to answer it in two ways.
Okay.
So first is of the body. So what can you actually do with the body, with the breath, to intervene in the physical response of overwhelm? So we have a window that we can kind of tolerate and cope. And it's when we start kind of inching outside of that window, like it's a bit much. This whole life thing right now is a bit much. Okay, so how do we get really, really comfortable in the body? How do we create ease and rest in the body? That is a very important starting place. Like we can't really think our way out of overwhelm. We're not talking about some like sentence that's going to magically do it. Get into the body. So if you need to put the book down, if you need to like really deal with the sensory input, is there just too much clutter going on? Is there too much sound? Are you trying to do Gina while the television is on and you're feeding your kids and then take a couple things off. And then maybe your Gina time is the quietest 15 minutes in the morning when actually there's not so many micro decisions and things that you have to do that are pulling at your attention. How can we streamline what the process is to do weight loss by Gina? So could we just do that one thing and where does it fit? And it doesn't have to be enormous.
I think this is so huge because people are so excited because, I mean, the program's amazing and it works. And they, chances are, know someone who's done it and they want to be successful. And they've been trying to lose weight for 20 years and they want this so bad and they can't wait to start. And then they get in there and there's like all this information and resources because we take weight loss seriously. We want to get this done for you. And then they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't fit this in. And you're right. The hardest part of the program, I think, is prioritizing yourself and taking the time that you actually need to make change, not just in weight loss, but in any kind of goal you're trying to achieve or anything you're trying to learn. You have to understand it's going to take that time in order to learn it. Okay. Do you have a part two to that? You have part two?
Absolutely, because you mentioned this idea of perfect, and like, please, I
Mm,
really want to come and have conversations about prioritization and perfect. Like, there's so many things here about whether it's a course or a journey or a pathway,
mm.
that can go a little smoother for folks. Like, there are strategies that can help you really get to and access what you're trying to get out of Gina, like what you're trying to really move or shift in doing this program. So when you talk about, and I'm an avid app user and tracking the water, oh shit, I totally like epic fail today. And the language that we're using. And I love your guests because they'll talk like like psychologists will tell you the why.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think I'm here to help with the how. And so feedback, that's for me the name of this program. Like, you help me feel the feedback of my body, the feedback of my mind, and like how critical I am, how quickly I am to judge and have angry coach jump in and be like, you didn't do your water. You didn't
Yeah.
do 20 minutes of movement. You didn't do 20 questions. 20 questions. Okay, like how about one question? You know what I got really good at last time? The 4 questions. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay, you will. But like, that was my micro project last time. I had one. I just want to nail that. And it really, really worked. So feedback is more important by far than meeting any set standard. Logging your water, logging if you've walked or stretched, that's just around documenting so you can have feedback around what works. Oh man, when I drink 4 liters of water, I feel like I'm on fire. I feel like
Yes.
everything's working
Mm.
better. It's not meeting like it's not like a standardized test here. It's just if we can log it, we don't have to remember. I don't remember how many liters I drank yesterday or last month. It helps me
Yes.
document. So when I see the patterns of when did I lose? When did I move? When was I in plateau? When was I happiest? When was I like my digestion was best? When did I feel like glowy and I was in my skinny jeans? Look at that. Look at the constellation of things that was going on.
I love what you just said about the app because like a lot of people use it, and even I say for accountability, but I love what you said with feedback. It's all about learning. And that's what, and you should be able, it's why it's not about being perfect. You should be able to see the progression in your app of you making choices that fall in line with your goals, seeing some forward movement, seeing yourself getting one step closer to your goal, which can be recorded. There's graphs. So, you can record obviously your fluid intake. And then you're right. There's a whole graph you'll be able to see of, how you're making out on drinking your water relevant to what's happening, on the scale, along with, I know you can't see this, but you'll be able to see it when you start using your app, along with what's happening with your sleep. So when you are tracking these things, you'll be able to receive that feedback by way of graphs to see how your hard work is paying off, or areas of opportunity and things that you can work on improving a little bit more. So I love how you frame that rather than, oh, I need to be perfect. And then, that's going to hold me accountable. And I failed today. You didn't fail today. If you showed up and you did one thing, and I think that's really important and should be the final takeaway of especially people who are new to the program. It's really not about being perfect. It's not even how you start. It's being there at the end. And every single day, just making more and more choices that fall in line with your goals. You're going to have days where you feel like a rock star and I crushed it and I'm amazing. And then there's going to be days people are going to be eating chips for breakfast and they're not going to log a thing. At the end of their day, they're going to be like, fuck it, and then you just start again the next day, right? So the program is very forgiving like that. Dr. Deena Kara Shaffer, I love you. I'm so excited. You're going to be back. You're going to continue this conversation. I think this is a great sort of start for especially our new members, but also really great for our returning members in terms of strategies. Oh my God, did I just gain a new favorite special guest? This is what I love about our guests. And, it gives it, this program is not just me. When it comes to weight loss, I'm really good at what I do and I stay in my lane. But it's about bringing you experts that you wouldn't necessarily have access to, or to the extent that we get to have these conversations. Psychologists, doctors, naturopath, like you name it. We have the best team of guest experts who not only are familiar with the program, but you're actually passionate about helping people. So on that note, people are going to ask where to find you. Where do they find you? I know you have a book. You have a book coming out. Like, where can they find or get more of you outside of the
Gina's
program? Because you're going to be back.
That's amazing. Like you really you take care of your community, which is very
Yeah.
kind. And like in everything, you're pushing against the system here. So thank you. And thank you for your trust and everyone's kindness today. This is like a master class in repairing feedback with the body. And so
Woo!
my whole life is about learning, and I work with learners of all ages, and I have a team ready to help at sort of every age and every financial waypoint. And parents, we support learners who are having a tough time of things, do the unlearning and healing work. So I'm at awakenlearning.ca, and you can follow me on Instagram at awakenlearning. And I did just launch a book, and I'm so excited to share it with the world because of these like pandemic learning gaps. Things aren't going so well. And so, holy shit, it became a bestseller. My whole heart is bursting and it's hard to contain, but it's called Feel Good Learning because this work of like how to remember and how to focus and how to study and how to approach something new, whether you're in grade 5 or high school, or it's your first year of college or university, or I have, my goodness, clients who are like, I'm going back and I'm in my, 40s and 50s. I'm going to be a psychotherapist, but I don't remember how to do school. I want to help in that space.
I
So
love
you
it.
can find me in those places, and you can find my team there, and you can find my book. So I really just hope is not a plan. That's what somebody posted to me yesterday when they got my book. And
Woo!
they're right. Hope is actually a kind of optimistic outlook, like, oh, things can be different, and a plan. And a plan. Yes, yes. The other way, the other way, the other way.
It's got my winner stickers on the back still.
So I hope everyone is super hopeful, and let's all the way make those hopeful like dreams and wishes for transformation through kind of overwhelm prevention, little and often, breaking things down, keeping it a little bit like contained, manageable. It's in my calendar. It's not just a to-do that's like, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock and I still have laundry and I haven't done anything to do with Gina today. Little and often, and you'll
Well,
get
and
there.
often. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. For those who are doing the program, you are going to be back and sharing your knowledge and helping us make our way through the program so everyone can be a success story at the end. But listen, if you're just showing up, even if you half-ass the program at the end of the day, it's getting you one step closer to reaching your goals. So excited about Monday. So excited about our next chat. Thank you. And thanks to everyone who joined us today. I'll be back tomorrow to go live again on the Facebook page and share some more tips about the program and process. Bye. Thank you.